Dr. Dhanashree Gawali. Dr. Dhanashree has done her DNB in General Medicine and she's a fellow at Chandray.
Hello everyone. So the topic of today's case for me is difficult to treat RA, an area of unmet clinical need, vision and new concept over the time. So here is my case. 40-year male from Raichur district who is automobile driver, and he presented with complaint of polyarthralgia 3 years, mainly involving large and small joints which was symmetric with additive pattern, and early morning stiffness which was lasting for 30 minutes since 3 years. It was also associated with back pain and radiating pain in both lower legs. So at the presentation, DAS score was around 5.1 and CDAI score more than 32 with tender joint count being around 44 out of 66. Personal history, he denies any addiction, no exposure to tobacco or smoking, and no family history contributing to current or present illness, no comorbidities. He was exposed to sulfasalazine 1 gram for 3 months, and he also tried Ayurvedic medicines for 10 months in 3 years of his symptom duration. There was no associated history of fever, abdominal pain, rashes, or any eye manifestations or any other systemic manifestation. So when we evaluated in 2015, outside he was just evaluated for back pain which was showing L4-5 lumbar disc prolapse. So in 15 when he presented to us, his ESR inflammatory parameters, ESR and CRP being very high, 45 and 24.9, with DAS score around 5.1 to 5.5 and CDAI score more than 32 with tender joint count 44 and RA factor anti-CCP and ANA also it was positive. So it was straightforward rheumatoid arthritis case. We started him on conventional DMARDs, methotrexate, hydroxychloroquine and leflunomide. Subsequently we achieved the highest dose of these conventional DMARDs. Along with this we also gave a short course of prednisolone. But after few months, because patient also agreed for biologics, we gave him rituximab 2 cycles in 2015 and 2015 he received 2 cycles. 16 and 17 after using conventionals and biologics also his disease couldn't get control with high DAS score around 4.8 and high CDAI score. So we again gave him rituximab 2 cycles. With this also patient couldn't improve. So in 2018 we tried some targeted DMARDs, target synthetic DMARDs, tacrolimus. We put patient on tacrolimus. With this we were expecting some relief, but still his inflammatory parameters were on higher side with high DAS and CDAI score, and patient also discontinued tacrolimus. Then in 2020 we again tried tofacitinib because by then tofacitinib was available at cheaper rates in market. So we tried tofacitinib also, but it didn't show any significant improvement in patient's disease activity. In 2021 there was some clinical relief with inflammatory parameters being in range of ESR being in range of 20 and CRP in range of 8.3 and DAS still being 3.2. In April 2022 patient presented with small ulcer on right second toe, and there was history of trivial trauma 5 days back. We tried short course of antibiotic, but then still this gradually progressed from to other toes and then up to right ankle. With this patient got admitted with us, and keeping this complication in In April, we investigated again for NCS. It was showing bilateral CP and axonal neuropathy, high parameters with APLA being negative, ANCA negative. We tried to rule out other causes of vasculitis might be associated with this. We gave Vizolone 45 milligram per day for 4 weeks with gradual tapering, but still patient was not having significant improvement, and then we thought of giving cyclophosphamide. So cyclophosphamide first cycle we gave in August 2022, and then there was some gap, and then we gave next cycle in last follow-up was in November 2022. Now we can see that inflammatory parameters are quite in good numbers with fairly well controlled disease activity. But patient did not wait, and outside he went for ankle amputation for that gangrene. So what were the challenges in our case? Duration of disease at presentation was around 3 years. So if we start treatment within 3 to 6 months of presentation of symptoms, there can be good chances of disease control. Despite not having any addiction or comorbidities, it was difficult to manage, and there was difficulty. What happens in difficult to treat RA cases, there is difficulty in pain management despite of using all treatment strategies. Patient still developed complications. There were increase in number of hospital admissions, and finally it impacted the quality of life of patient. So the key message is difficult to treat rheumatoid arthritis. It is a multifactorial condition varying from each individual patient to patient. So now we are more focusing on the individualization of each and every patient treatment. Multiple different factors can lead to drug discontinuation or difficulty in grading the rheumatoid activity, as our case, and the complex interplay of contributory factors indicate an individualized management approach for difficult to treat RA patients. We will just quick revise the new EULAR guidelines for difficult to treat RA, which came in 2021. 3 factors are taken into consideration. So if there is failure of response to more than 2 DMARDs or target synthetic drugs, or there can be presence of at least moderate disease activity or signs and symptoms suggestive of active disease, inability to taper the glucocorticoid treatment, and rapid radiological progression, or all these symptoms which are causing reduction in quality of life. Third thing to taken into consideration is management of signs and symptoms perceived as problematic by rheumatologists and or the patient. So these are the new guidelines. According to signs and symptoms, whether the patient is meeting new definition of difficult to treat rheumatoid arthritis or not, that can be taken into consideration. We have to actively assess the RA diagnosis and assess the comorbidities that either mimic the arthritis signs and symptoms or interfere with the arthritis assessment. Then if arthritis activity is present, then we have to think of the escalation of DMARD therapy, whether we have to assess the treatment non-adherence is present or not, and discuss and optimize the treatment adherence. So ultimately we have to also think of the other non-pharmacological treatments, including patient education, exercise and self-management also. Thank you.